Well, it was another weekend, eighth weekend in a row, in fact, of low pressure dominance across parts of the UK and indeed Ireland. Thanks for clicking on to the Monday edition of Vogan's European Outlook. 2 metre temperature anomalies for the last 60 days, average to slightly below average temperature wise across the UK and Ireland here. Warmer than average elsewhere across parts of the continent here. No real surprise. The last 45 days, in fact, average to slightly below average. Actually, more coverage of the slightly below across the bulk of England and indeed South Wales here. Again, warmer than average across the continent, but not exceptionally so. And it looks as if we do have some pretty significant damage felt by Storm Betty, especially in the Dublin area, by the way. This is a video here captured by our friend Ryan Bruin here. Check this out. Some pretty wild conditions, actually, almost like kind of tropical storm-like conditions over topping waves along the shoreline here. And we had a wind gust, I believe, in excess of 94 kilometers per hour. So that is about 58 mile per hour, and quite significant damage caused as well in parts of the Dublin area over the course of Friday and into Saturday here. So thanks to Shran for sharing some pretty impressive footage of the storm situation. Quite a lot of damage caused, like I say, and as well as the strong winds, we also seen some pretty exceptional amounts of rainfall, anywhere from the Cork area, Waterford, up towards Valencia, Dublin, where we had 74 millimetres of rainfall at Valencia, which is the wettest August day since 1986. So again, we had this in July, we had this in August, earlier on in the month, wettest conditions, deepest area of low pressure, seen since the 1980s here. So this is turning out to be a very significant meteorological summer when you factor in the warmest June on record here. How does things look for the month of September here? Well, certainly according to the latest run of the GFS ensemble here, this is the upcoming 5-day period. We've got strong high pressure over the central continent. We've got an area of low pressure on the northwest coast of the UK here, pretty much a predominantly westerly driven setup here. But check this out here. This is the 6 to 10 day, and we've got a pretty deep negative here for the final days of August, and then the 11 to 15 day, you can see here, firmly below average heights. That is the period 31st of August through the 5th of September here. Looking at the temperature anomalies here for that same period, and you can see upcoming 5 days, slightly warmer than average for the majority. Look at Europe here. We've got some pretty warm temperatures compared to average. Central Southern Europe in particular here, the upcoming 6 to 10 day period, there's that negative reflecting in below average temperatures, and the 11 to 15 day, you can see here, below average. So remember I mentioned a few days ago last week about the potential of a cool start to September. This is going to be an interesting one here to see what takes place here, because I actually happen to notice here a tweet by Shran. Again, I hope he doesn't mind me referring to a lot of his tweets, but I find it fascinating stuff. He knows his stuff. He's very, very good when it comes to stats, data, etc., far beyond my capabilities in terms of some. I love statistics, I must admit, but Shran just goes that extra mile in delivering accurate, fantastic pieces of information. But he says, how likely is some noteworthy warmth in September? Question mark. The first thing to look at is El Nino. These are past moderate to borderline strong El Nino Septembers. Not a large sample size at all, but it shows a strong westerly signal, cool and unsettled. And based on what I just showed you, that is quite an interesting fact here. Let's have a look at the CFSV2 for the month of September and see what it's actually showing. So that's interesting. It's showing slightly above average temperatures here across the board. I don't think it's going to be quite as widespread warmth as that model suggests. What's it looking like for the precipitation anomaly? Slightly wetter than average, and the 500 millibard potential anomaly here is looking like this here. So it's showing like a kind of a neutral height field, above average heights to the south and to the east here. that would indicate a little bit more of a negative, a bit more trophiness, and that is certainly quite similar to what this kind of quick and dirty look at El Nino, moderate to El Nino Septembers here, according to Shrine's findings. So thanks to Shrine for that information here. And it looks as if we are going to see the continuation of relatively cool conditions. The highest temperature of August is still stood at 28.4 Celsius, and I don't think we're going to see anything warmer than that through the remainder of August here. So it looks as if we're going to see a sub 30 Celsius August. Europe has been warm and dry in places, but we have seen some pretty extreme conditions in response to this collision between low pressure to the north and northwest, high pressure to the south and southeast here. So you can see here off the GFS model, we continue to play through this loop through the remaining days of August. Warm conditions across the south, cool conditions underneath low pressure dominance further north. And you can see here there's cooler with an area of low pressure to the north of the UK, just pretty much on the north shore of the Faroe Isles. That area of low pressure is kind of cycling in some kind of subarctic air from the north. That's rotating around that circulation and over UK atmosphere here. All the while we've got some very warm conditions at 850 over Spain and France here, representing well above average temperatures here. We've seen some pretty warm temperatures into the low 40s as far north as southern France over the course of the weekend here. So we've seen some record-breaking hot conditions across the continent. We'll try and look at that in a little bit more detail as we go through this work week. We're going to look in more detail at autumn, and indeed we're going to look at some more in-depth stuff with regards to El Nino, possible sudden stratospheric warming events with an easterly QBO, looking at the sea surface temperature anomalies. I'm going to try and look at that this upcoming week. So if you haven't already done so, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Lots of stuff to come this upcoming week. Lots of exciting stuff for me to show you here on the channel here. And you can see here the continuation of those relatively cool temperatures at 850 as we step out of the month of August and into the month of September here. The first meteorological month of autumn, of course. So that's quite an important factor. Amazing to think that we're nearly at the end of meteorological summer. Also going to score the summer forecast versus what has taken place. I think even the month of August is shaping up to be better than anticipated here. I was starting to think that it was going to be warmer and drier during the second half of August. My August forecast issued way back at the end of May highlighted low pressure dominance during the month of August as well as July. So I think this summer forecast may wind up one of the best I've ever delivered when it comes to the June, July and August period. There's always a month that kind of goes out the window when it comes to the long range. This summer, 2023, is up there with some of the best forecasts I've produced for the month, for the season of summer. So this shows you that the cool conditions remain in place through the majority of the rest of August here. We're not going to see 30 Celsius this August by the looks of it here, but we're going to be continuing to watch the tropics. The tropics are starting to waken up. We need to watch the kind of northward progress of heat coming out of the tropics into the temperate region. That engages with the jet stream, strengthens the jet stream, and indeed can have big implications on our pattern here as we go into the month of September here. So look at the overview chart of the GFS. You can see here what is taking place. Low pressure to the north. We've got a showery, cool westerly regime through the early and middle part of this work week here, of course. You can see here a fairly slack affair with regards to the height field. We've got largely a fight between low pressure to the north, high pressure to the south, and we've got that airflow slack at that moving in from the west here. So a kind of sunshine and shower regime, a mixture of sun and cloud cover, of course. Temperatures at around average for the time of the year. And you can see here these slack areas of low pressure kind of impact in the UK and Ireland atmosphere here. Not a particularly bad pattern, really. We're in a bit of a no man's land, really, so to speak, as we stumble our way towards the end of meteorological summer here, and see that low pressure largely dominates the pattern as we push towards the end of this week and the upcoming weekend. Another area of low pressure may dominate the pattern this weekend. That would be weekend number 9 in a row with low pressure dominating the situation here. So it looks as if near average conditions temperature wise, slightly above average rainfall for the month of August. That looks as if that's where we're heading for this final month of meteorological summer here. So yeah, that's it for today. A relatively short and sweet video. Be sure to like and share with your friends and family and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already done so. Back again tomorrow with more. Stay tuned. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.